It's a sinister industry hidden in plain view.
每天都有人被买进小学生放学，他们路过这里，你知道他们说了什么话吗？又是一群中国人被卖过来了。在那个国家，人口贩卖是心知肚明的事，你知道吗？
Criminal syndicates run the massive scam centers, often in the middle of crowded cities. They're staffed by alleged trafficking victims who are forced to ensnare others online. The operations generate profits that can add up to billions of US dollars each year. But how did a corner of Southeast Asia, once synonymous with opium, become ground zero for a new frontier in cybercrime?
Chinese organized crime had a long presence in Southeast Asia for many years.
It all started here, in this seaside city on Cambodia's southern coast. Chinese investment transformed Sihanoukville from a sleepy beach town into a sprawling city. By the mid-2010s, Southeast Asian nations like Cambodia, Laos, and the Philippines saw a dramatic rise in Chinese investment in the online gambling sector. In Cambodia, Chinese organized crime figures were scrambling to grab a slice of a growing gambling market.
We have to look at the economic conditions in those Southeast Asian countries. So it's like Cambodia, Myanmar, and Laos. These states are comparatively poorer in the Southeast Asia. So they are eager to attract a lot of foreign investments, like the tourism, casino infrastructure, you name it. But at the same time, the governance is very weak. So it's easy for criminals to get the protection.
Across Southeast Asia, casino towns began to spring up in remote outposts and border towns. Most were there to capitalize on demand from neighboring countries like Thailand and China, where gambling is banned or heavily regulated. Then the coronavirus pandemic changed everything.
COVID actually is a very important turning point for turning all these online casinos into a scam centers because of the travel restrictions. The gamblers, they can't visit those places to gamble, and also some of the countries started banning the online casino as well. So with the infrastructure they established for online casino, so they can utilize the same infrastructure for the different purpose that is for the scam.
This is this industry that moves and bounces wherever it can, wherever there's opportunity. And I think what these areas all have in common is this confluence of big Chinese investment. There is a strategic interest in these areas for China too, from what we see about the places they're in, and a load of hot money. A lot of it's obviously criminal. And it all seems to funnel and focus around these casinos, which then morphed into bases for scamming as well.
The scam is commonly known as pig butchering, a reference to the way victims are drawn into relationships like hogs fattened up for slaughter. And it first took root in Southeast Asia in places like this. Kai Bo is a scam compound in Cambodia. Facilities like this have helped build the blueprint for cybercrime done on an industrial scale. When Cambodian authorities began to crack down on these scam operations, criminal syndicates fled to Myanmar, a country that proved to be an ideal location for this notorious industry. Myanmar has been mired in civil war since 2021, leaving parts of the country in the hands of local militias that have deep roots in regions close to China's southern border.
The central government or the military groups basically can't control these areas, so they have to rely on these kind of areas is basically controlled by the warlords or what you call insurgents group or military groups. So, in that circumstances, the criminal can try to make a deal with those local militaries to get the protection through like profit sharing. So that creates a safe haven for the criminal to establish and also operate the scam centers.
Militias like the United Wa State Army and the Kokang Border Guard Force have long been accused of using the sale of narcotics to fund their roles in a decades-long insurgency. Now, in a nation fractured by war, these militias play a more central role in governing their own regions. A recent crackdown on scam centres in Sri Lanka was carried out by a local junta-affiliated militia called the Karen Border Guard Force. The militia had secured the release of thousands of foreign trafficking victims in a matter of weeks following diplomatic pressure from Thailand and China. But the same group was also an alleged partner of Xie Zhijiang, the mastermind behind a massive development in Sri Lanka that housed many of these scam compounds. And other militias operating in the region, like the Democratic Karen Buddhist Army, have all been accused of profiting from scam centers in the past. So it's perhaps no surprise that the militia's own leaders wonder whether this crackdown will have a lasting impact.
It's interesting because everybody in the Myanmar denies knowledge of this, including the warlords, including the ethnic rebel groups, and everyone now seems to be willing to help repatriate the tens and tens of thousands of people who have been trafficked into these scam rooms. Somehow, up to 100, 130,000 people have gone into the Myanmar, maybe several multiples of that over the last 2-3 years, and nobody knows how, and nobody seems to be responsible. So it's a sort of fascinating criminal trail that I think we're all feeling now because we're all getting those phone calls. Behind it, at the end of the day, human beings being scammed and human beings also being forced to scam.
To learn more about what life was like inside one of these scam centers, watch this interview next.
把你的最后一笔价值给榨取掉。那在那边我也看到有人反抗，因为有很多人因为每天都不同的时间都有不同的人就是被买进来或者卖出去。